Hello and welcome to Misti Arts and Crafts. I'm Libby and today I'll be showing you some more color palette cards. So here are the cards we will be making today. I did use two different color palettes on this, but they are both the same kind of thing. I'll explain it more here in a minute. So I have this cardstock pack. This one is from Hobby Lobby. They have the company, the Paper Studio there, and sometimes there's some really great deals there, so you can go check that out. Anyway, this comes with cardstock that is already in a color palette. They have a lot more. I will show you two different ones today, but they have a ton of different ones out there. I'm using the succulent one first, and I chose some Concord and Ninth inks to go with it. So I chose Dove, Sea Glass, Ballet Slippers, and then Peacock and Oceanside, I believe. So I'm going to start by using this cardstock, and I am going to just trim it into some strips. I have some half-inch strips, some quarter-inch strips. I'm just doing a big variety. You'll see that come into play later. I'm going to use a bunch of different ways to use paper strips, and I think this is actually a really great way to show off color palettes within paper pads. Is to use cardstock strips. I think it just is really, really good for this, for color palettes, and really helps them to shine and stuff. So I am going to start. I have a piece of white cardstock here, and I'm going to add my half-inch strips, and just like in order on my cardstock, I just chose an order, and then I will add them there. I also have this smaller piece just to fill in the bottom there. And then I will cut off the rest with my guillotine trimmer, and I can just throw those bits in the trash or use them for something else. This set also came with 5 colors. I will show you how to adapt color palettes, which I think is a really great way to stretch them and to stretch your supplies as well. So for the second strip idea, I'm going to use craft cardstock, and this one, craft cardstock went really, really well with this color palette today. And I think any neutrals that you can bring into color palettes are really, really good, and they can just kind of bring it all together. So that's a great way to use color palettes, especially in cardstocks, is to bring in an additional more neutral color. So then I'm going to go sideways here, and I have a bunch of different sizes of strips here for this one, and I'm going diagonal. I made a bunch of these cards while I was at it because paper strip cards are really, really easy to mass produce, and so I just did a bunch of them at the same time. I only showed you 3 of them, but I did the rest of the styles in a similar fashion as to the 3 I showed you on the screen. So I'm just going to play with different arrangements of paper strips on this cardstock, and then once I'm done, I will trim it off again. I'm just kind of doing some random pieces of cardstock here. Once that is trimmed off, I did want to show you my envelope. I just added one of each color of the strips that I used onto this envelope, and I think this just helps ties the envelope to the card, and I've been really into card matching envelopes again, as I've said before, and so I just wanted to add a little bit of that in the corner. Next, I'm going to spray these pieces with water, and I will put them into this embossing folder. This one is the I think it's 3D. It is the Spellbinders Circle Illusion embossing folder, and I think embossing folders really add a lot of texture to paper strip backgrounds. I really love to do this with pattern paper and stuff as well. So then I have this, the one that I did not emboss were the ones with the half-inch strips on the white cardstock, and this is because I wanted to stamp on it. And using your stamps, especially background stamps on paper strip backgrounds, can really help you get more from them, and more from your paper and your color palette, but also more from those background stamps and those different stamps that you own. So I've been using this one a lot recently. This one is the Pink Fresh Studio Painted Daisies one, and I have not used it in this way yet, so I just thought I would. Here you can see I did another background, and this one looks a lot different than the other one, which is really great. And all I did was took out one color from this color palette, and I have a whole new look to the color, or to the card, which I think is so cool. And and it really stretches your color palette and your supplies and all of their different things so that you can get different looks from this. And I think this is so fun. That all I took out was the pink, and I got a totally different look. So definitely look at that when you are playing with your color palettes and that kind of thing. So I wanted to stencil on one of them, and in the grand scheme of things, I probably shouldn't have stenciled it. I did not exactly like how it turned out. But basically what I did was I took those inks that I showed you at the beginning of the video, and I matched them up to the cardstock, and I just colored in the areas of the stencil with each of those colors in their spots. And I don't think this turned out as cool as I thought it would, but I tried it, and it did turn out okay, and I did use it. You will see later. And I actually had more problems with this card later as well. I tried something different and it didn't really work, but that's okay. I wanted to show you that not everything goes to plan, and so this is kind of one of those instances. It didn't really turn out exactly as I wanted it to, but that's okay. I just kept going with it and just embraced this as well. So while I'm finishing up the stenciling process, I wanted to share that you can also use color palettes from your pattern paper. So that's another great way that you can use paper as your color palettes. Or you can also use the pattern paper in this way with the strips. I think that would be a really great option as well for you to stretch your supplies if you are interested. I have stamped these sentiments here. I got these a while ago. I don't know if I can find them, but I will try to link them in the description box below. And I have just stamped them in clear embossing ink with the angle that I placed the strips. And then I also have some sentiments from the Honeybee Inside Kindness stamp set that I just stamped on some white cardstock, and then I will emboss all of these with Simon Says Stamp Antique Gold Embossing Powder. Going back to the pattern paper idea, I am hoping to do a color palette video with pattern paper in the future, so if you are interested in that or want to learn more on how you can use that, I will try to do that in the future. So next, once I've embossed all these panels, I've cut them down to how I want them to look, and I'm going to just stack some just cardstock that I have around the house onto the backs of these. This is my favorite way to add dimension. Instead of foam tape, it's so much cheaper and just sturdier and all the things. So I will only show you me stacking one of those because it is kind of time consuming. But anyway, then I have cut a few pieces of mirror gold cardstock that I'm going to add to the end of two of my panels, the ones with the strips at the diagonal. And I thought this added a little bit of something extra to these cards and just gave a new look to it as well. So you can also bring in like shiny colors like golds and silvers and that kind of thing. That's a great way to add more to your color palettes as well. So I'm just going to add those to both of my pieces, and then I will add all of these to their card bases. I just have some white card bases for all of these that I would put them on because I thought we had enough color on there and I wanted them to really stand out as they were. So after I have put them all on here, I wanted to try one of these backgrounds a little different. So I cut the Concord and Ninth, I think it's the Happy Thanks die out of this, and I'm going to inlay the words back into it, which you'll see in a minute. But I have popped this panel up on foam tape, and then I will add that to the front of my card base, and I will bring in the thank you words and place them in the middle. This one did not turn out to be my favorite card, but I think it's definitely a way that you can use these backgrounds in a different way. So there's lots of different ways you can use these backgrounds. I've chose to use them mostly in the same way, but there's plenty of ways you can use it to create some really cool looks. So yeah. And you can see that it kind of just matches up with the pattern or with the paper strips that were already there, and I think this gives a cool look and definitely something you could try as well. So once I have that, I'm moving on to the other ones where I stamped the florals. I embossed some white cardstock with that same circle illusion embossing folder, and I'm just going to add them to some white card bases, and this will just add some simple texture into the background that will just help to accompany the florals that we have. So I've cut them out. I just fussy cut around them, but you could also use the die. This first one that I did in a very similar fashion to how I've added these florals to past cards, and I think this looks really, really good and is definitely something you can do. I wanted to try something different on this card because I feel like I've done the same layout every single time, and I just wanted something different. So I tried something different here, and it just did not turn out for me. And you'll see how I kind of fix that, and I do end up finishing the card, so yeah. Anyway, I'm taking one of those sentiments that I stamped earlier. I had fussy cut around it, and then I'm going to add some thin foam squares on the back, and I'll just pop it up to that one. You can see how this one just did not work for me, so I pulled off the top layer, and then I decided to put it, I decided to layer it so it looked like kind of like a border of florals here, and I just set it aside for the night, and I came back the next morning and I finished the card. So I have I've re-embossed the panel, and then I stamped the same sentiment onto this panel, and I embossed it and stuff. And then I'm just going to add the florals on here, and I think this actually turned out to be okay. I don't love it, but I also don't hate it anymore, and so it's definitely a way that you can salvage your cards. So not everything turns out perfect every time, and so you just have to try some different things. So next I have the second paper pack. This is very similar to the last one, but obviously different colors. This is the peach, cream, and tans pack. They have a bunch of other packs as well that you can get and you can experiment with as well. I have chosen some inks that might pair well with this. I have Dove, Peacock, Wheat, Ballet Slippers, and I think it was Sorbet or maybe Grapefruit. And I actually did not end up using the inks. I thought I was going to, and I ended up not using them. But yeah. Anyway, I have two different die sets that I'm cutting all these cardstocks out of. The first one is the Spellbinders Mini Blooms and Sprigs, and then the second one is Concord and Ninth Home for the Holidays set, and I'm just cutting a bunch of these out of each of the different cardstocks, and so you kind of saw a time lapse of that because it did take me a while. And then I am embossing more of these panels with the Circle Illusion embossing folder, and I did this on some craft cardstock. And then I also cut out some stitched circles out of white cardstock, and I will layer my florals onto this card, or onto the circles. I ended up doing 3 of these cards, but I will only show you one on camera here. This is kind of how I put it together. I used my pickup stick, some reverse tweezers, and then my glue. And then for the centers, I decided to use Pink Fresh Studio. These are their matte gold metallic pearls. And then I also just fluffed up the different floral kind of things there as well. Then I'm going to put each of the houses together. They have a few layers, but I think they turn out super cute. This is technically a Christmas die set, but I think it can totally work for any occasion that you have, as long as you use the right colors and the right sentiment, and I think it can totally turn out good for any occasion that you want it to. Sorry if my voice is a little bit scraggly. I do have a little bit of a cold, so yeah. Anyway, I'm just going to finish putting these houses together. It's super simple and pretty self-explanatory. So yeah, but I think they do have guides that come with the set. I will check here. Yeah, there's kind of a layering guide set that kind of shows you how you can put it together, or you can also look online or see other inspiration, and you can see exactly how they all layer together. But yeah. So I just cut it out of this one color palette, and I think it totally brings the cards together. This is definitely a more neutral color palette, but I think it's super, super pretty, and it's definitely something I don't go towards, but I think is a really great color palette that I should use more often. So I'm using more of the Honeybee Inside Kindness sentiments. I use the A Little High for Me and also the Thank You and For Your Kindness. And I will just stamp those with my Sinuses Stamp Intense Black ink. And I will just stamp those at the bottom of my panels there. And then I will just layer on my houses with some foam tape. And I will just layer I'll do one of each of the houses on there. Sorry about that. And just above the sentiment. And I think this is just a really cute way to use a color palette. You can definitely use dies to cut these out of, and I think it's really, really great that way. I did make a couple of these cards again while I was at it, because I think it's great to mass produce your cards while you're doing one. You might as well do multiple. I also added some clay hearts. These are the Cupid mix. I got these from Michael's. They're Recollections polyester like little hearts, and they come in pink, red, and white, and I think they're really, really great to add to any card. Next, I'm adding the little circles with my florals on them to the embossed panels as well. And then I've stamped the Thank You sentiment. This is from the Concord and Ninth. It was Double the Thanks, but this was from Simon's Stamp-tember release, so it's not out, but you can use any like little tiny sentiment, and I used like just a banner die that I had to cut this out. Then I also added a few sequins around the circle, just to add a little something extra as well. And that will finish off the cards for today. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and come back next week for a new video. If you are interested in any of the supplies I used today, check the description box below. For more inspiration, please consider liking and subscribing, and for even more inspiration, check out my Instagram and Pinterest accounts at Misti Arts and Crafts. Thank you so much again. Have a great day. I'll see you soon.